just wanted to say that you and your wife are a power couple, and it is just so cool to see this story about your father's journey. It was a really intense experience to witness something like this, and it was so real. It wasn't just like this fabricated fairy tale Christian film. It was something that took this genuine look at an ugly side of life, but then also the other end. And it took you through that hour and 40-minute experience. And I just wanted to hear in your perspective what this movie was about to you.
Well, I'd probably agree with you. We felt the same way. It was we had to tame it down to make it a Christian movie. Most of it's not Christian for sure. Just the nature of the story and what we were trying to tell and get across. We wanted it to be real and raw, and yeah, I was just glad that Phil and Kay were willing to tell their story. I think we've all got stories, and to go back and memorialize it with a whole movie, it's going to live in perpetuity. So I know it was tough for them to watch and just kind of go back in time and do that. And I knew the story. They've been pretty open about their lives, so we all knew about the stories that happened. And but watching it, on the screen, I think we all had empathy for Kay, just realizing what all she had to deal with, and it was tough. You're watching yourself. I was two in the movie. Which, by the way, that was my grandson playing me on the
Wow.
movie, which was really cool. Um, but just knowing that movie could go either, life could go either way. We were that close to being a split up family, and nothing would have, none of this would have happened. There would have been no Duck Commander. There would have been no Duck Dynasty. Um, I probably wouldn't have met Corey, because I met her at church camp, which was new. Once they turned their lives around, we started going to church now, and met her at this church camp. And so, yeah, the way life turned out, I actually just wrote a book called Gospeller, one who shares their faith. And the first chapter is about Phil and Kay. I was just so moved by life. I was like, if that wouldn't have happened, I can trace it back almost like a spiritual 23 and me, where I can trace it back to one couple in South Arkansas who the marriage was over. Dad's kicked us out. It's look, all hope is gone. Dad's sister, like, is the only one who's still pulling for him, begs that preacher to go up there to that bar and talk to her brother. Uh, and I write about that in my book. Like, this preacher, this guy probably was not coming to his church. They wasn't even in the same state, and they didn't have any money. It was adversarial. He has to go in there. And my aunt said, and she's passed away since, but my aunt said, if you convert him, he'll convert thousands. And how she could see that was so incredible. And it turned out to be true. And so, yeah, and if you play that forward now with Duck Dynasty, the movies, the podcast, the stuff Sadie does all over the world, we're talking about hundreds of millions of people have been exposed some way. And I can trace it all back to that movie, those moments in that movie where they turned their life around and changed. So it was really incredible. And so the story's about hope and forgiveness, and you never give up on anyone because you never know. I don't know who the next person. I may be talking to someone that could be like Phil, or like Kay, or like, have this family. And I remember I baptized a guy last year, and I said, "Your kids will appreciate this." He goes, "Mr. Willie, I don't have any kids." I said, "Which you may one day, and this may make the big change in your life, because I'd seen that in the movie." And so, and then when the movie comes out, like, we're getting all these incredible stories of people watching, like, marriages coming back together, and uh, guys who would never go to marriage counseling or probably never go to a church, but they got roped into going to a movie, about the Duck Dynasty guys who, and it's like, oh yeah. And then boom, and then they're exposed to that, to the message of that. And so we've seen it, we've heard it, which is incredible. And that's what we were hoping. We were hoping that, the only reason to tell that story is to help other people, and we had to get the story right, because it was our story. But fortunately, we have Phil and Kay that we could actually just go through, and it's right out of their mouths. And so we could hear, and that's why it's so real and raw. We were like, that's what they said. But in fact, we had to tame it down. It was, the first cut was like, whew, I was like, I don't know if you can make it to the end. It's,
Oh, I would have loved to seen that first cut. Dang.
I don't know you
I
say
can
that.
handle that kind of stuff.
It was just a lot of just the other, stuff that Phil was putting in his book and stuff. He was which is, I mean, that's how we got to Louisiana. He was actually running from the law. So the police were after him, he had, beat up people. He was just a bad dude.
He's a bad boy, but now he's a good boy. Good bad boy.
Well, when
I
he turned, he went as bad as he went good. It was like
yep,
I was reading the New Testament, like we're Saul, this guy's killing Christians, and then boom, he
yep.
gets converted, and now he starts. Yeah, it's just the same way. It was just he was as good as he was bad, and so Phil's kind of got that personality anyway. Whatever he does, he goes all the way with, and so uh, he wanted to duck hunt a lot, so he started his own company and built his own duck call, and sure enough, he gets to duck hunt all the time. So like he just got a lot of passion, and it was great seeing that. It was just what an honor to see him live his life as the real deal, and that's what I always tell people about Dad. He's the real deal. He's no different than he is than when you see him on Sundays or Fridays, or he just, man, he is. And that's pretty much all we talk about is sharing our faith and just different methods of doing that and how do we do that. And that's just really what turns him on. So, because he felt like he had been so bad and he just wanted to, so he mixed it all up in the business, in which people said it's not going to work. And so it's been a lot of stuff that people said wouldn't work, Duck Dynasty is not going to work because it's not like reality TV can't, you got to have fighting, you got to have cursing at each other, And they're like, we don't think this is going to work. And I believe it's the most watched unscripted TV show in the history of cable. So it can't.
Hmm. Stood out to me when you were talking is the perspective of, I think you said Christian films, right? One thing that I've noticed with faith-based movies is that they kind of have this trend to put a lot more care to the message than the craft and like bleeding the two in. What makes this movie stand out from the rest of that standard of, oh, it's another faith-based film?
Well, I think Christians have, in their attempt to make movies, they probably try to do too much. They try to stuff it full of so much information, that, and I don't know how that or why that happens. Probably a committee of people saying we need to tell about this, and some of the conversations just don't seem real. I was like, who talked like that? Um, and so we definitely didn't. We were just going to make a movie about the story. Like we had the story. It's an incredible story.
Mm.
You know the end. You know how it turns out. You know that we all stay together, and you know that we go on to do a lot of other things. And so, but we've got this weird situation where we've got Phil is so bad. How do we portray that and keep it, where everybody can watch it? And a little bit of a bait and switch because of the nature of Duck Dynasty, which is super fun and funny and light, and then we're like, it's like the big record scratch here as we go back to that. But and to be honest, we just talked with Phil and we wanted to know because Phil's pretty in your face, and so Phil wanted it to be just like it happened. And so
Mm.
at the end of the day, he and Kay were the ones who we had to keep happy. It's their story, it's they're the ones who lived it and wanted to portray it, and so it fit the gospel message. I was in Dallas last weekend at a giant church, and the pastor told me, said that's the truest gospel presentation I've ever seen in a movie. And so and again, that was back to what Phil wanted to show and portray. And so we didn't have to worry about all these other little things. We, again, other than just trying to make it sanitize it enough to kids could watch it. So because he was
Yeah.
but yeah, but that's the way that's the way it turned out. And so I think you're right. And there's, not saying all Christian movies are bad. There's some that have been great and incredible. And but walking that line, of trying to we just didn't try to put too much in there. And then once we wanted the gospel message, we wanted the redemption, and sadly we couldn't show more of the story after that. But if you understood that, I think the appreciation for us was like, now everything else should make sense in context, because you realize, if you wonder why we still talk about our faith a lot, because we feel like without it, none of this would have happened. So, so telling that story was important.
And it was a really good buildup. The way that the faith perspective moved along. It wasn't like here's every 5-10 minutes, here's a Bible verse. It was
Yeah.
here's a story that happened, and here's the third act of how God came in with this reality check for your father.
Right.
And how your mother still, like, she could have left. I think that was the part I was like, dang, she was still there. Like, obviously, like she was still there, but like just seeing the reality of God can do so much with
She
so
probably
many
should
things.
have. I think I would have told her to leave. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
no one wants to see their mom go through that. Yeah,
well, it was
like
crazy. I was like, God, just get away from this guy. I mean, he was dangerous. So, yeah, how she dug deep and found that, and really stayed true to that commitment she had made, um, to get it all together. And, and as bad as that was, and then, Phil was able to change. And then, I mean, seeing them today, they're in their late 70s and, still have this great marriage. And so just you realize how close it was, to never happening.
the last thing I want to say before you go, number one, I appreciate this time. It's truly an honor. Um, my favorite performance from this actually came from Amelia Eve, and she is tremendous. She is a rock, and but she also has this way of showing vulnerability,
Hmm.
and she is very talented. She was actually one of my favorite series on Netflix in the last couple of years, The Haunting of Bly Manor, and she was also incredible in that series as well. So she's multifaceted with what she's able to like give in different projects.
Yeah.
Um, did you guys have any say in the casting process? Like, what was that part like for you?
Oh yeah, we saw hundreds and hundreds of tapes of people, and what blew me away was all of them from England who came over and figured out how to make those accents work. I mean, our accents is it's a little different. Like I can hear all the accents from. Which another thing is about movies, like the accents drive me crazy. I guess because I'm from Louisiana, so I know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I thought they did watching them doing their craft was just unbelievable. With how they took that on and were able to portray these people. And yeah, I thought she did unbelievable as well, and showed the depth of that kind of character, of being really just on the line and suicidal and but yet, hoping, but yeah, a little resistant, you can see that towards the end of the movie where Kay's like, are we just gonna be right back into this, and I think that's a great message for everybody. And I think, I think the hope, and especially right now, it's just people are getting hopeless, they just get hopelessness sets in and they feel like, I've just got myself down, you know, too many holes and I can't get out. And so it's just a reminder that you can, for us it was the faith aspect, and that's what we believe, but you can get out of that. And we've heard so many stories of just, marriages staying together now, and because it's a safer environment. It's not you don't have to go to church, you don't have to go to some marriage counselor. You can just watch a movie, and just let it be powerful and let it make people reflect. And so I think because we're relatable to people in so many other ways through Doug Dynasty and all that, it's a safer way to say, okay, I know about Phil, I know about their marriage, and so now I can watch and see what they got through. And so uh, to cause some change and help people to change. So, and I'm thankful for PureFlix, Great American PureFlix, who partnered up with us to stream it out. Which is great because we got to be able to get the stories out there,
Yep.
and show
Very
these.
different age now with like how we
Yeah, it's so
receive
different.
entertainment. Yeah.
But it's so, everything's changed even from Duck Dynasty. It's just such a new day, a new ball game, like everything's changed since we were on television, that we knew was coming, but it's just, getting it out there and getting stories like this. But there's hope. I mean, I see there's, you know, several good movies on the way and that have been shot. And so, fortunately, I've been able to meet a lot of those people who are putting stories like this out. And so, yeah, we've got some more movies we're looking at. Won't be Some of them are kind of like this, but some of them are out there kind of wild. But yeah, we enjoyed it. After you do your first one, like we learned so much. I was like, okay, now I'm ready to do another because I learned so much that I can fix and change and hopefully do a better job.
What is your favorite like movie just to watch? Just something that you can always watch. I love adding something fun in there at the
I
end.
have been trying to decide this for probably 10 years, and
Dang.
I've been working on my top 10. Um, I mean, it's hard to go against Shawshank, which is I just, these are movies that
That's an
I could watch
all-timer.
over and over and over. I love A Few Good Men. I love Gladiator, and I love Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. Those are some of the ones that are like, I'm trying to rank them. I've been trying to get one of these days. I'll have my top 10 movies, but those are some that I enjoy.
I recommend I don't know if you've seen the first one, but check out Dune Part 2.
I saw the, is that fixing to come out?
That one just came out like March 1st,
Yeah,
I
I just
believe.
saw the trailer and man, I
Mhm.
was I was drawn. I feel pretty good. Like I'm the guy who can say that's going to be good or this is going to be bad. But I saw that trailer and I said that looks really good. And I was not into the Dune even back when it was original Dune, like
Mhm.
the
You have
80s. When I was
84 or
like,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember when it came out and I was not, but that one looked really interesting to me as well. So
It's a game changer. That's my recommendation. If you and your wife, your family want to watch a sci-fi masterpiece, check out Dune. That one is amazing.
what's your favorite movie? You're the movie man. What's your
Oh
favorite?
shoot. I'll be real quick, Carly. Right now, currently, it would be Dune Part 2. I've seen it seven
Come on
times in
now, it just
theaters.
came out. You
I
can't say your
I, I
favorite
know.
movie of all time
I,
just came out last week.
Sir, I know. I am that guy that'll be like, I will go see a movie like best movie of all time, best movie, and I'm like a movie critic. I can't do that. Like I need
How
to
old are you? How
actually.
old are you?
I'm dude. Oh my gosh, I literally forgot my age for a sec. I'm 27. I'm gonna be 28 here in May.
I
Um,
would think a 27-year-old would probably say their favorite movie of all time just came out last week. That may be
yeah.
because you're 27 years old.
I mean, I got the popcorn bucket right. I mean, what's
Okay,
more to be
I'll
said?
make this easier.
Oh,
Before Dune 2 came out last week, what was your
okay.
favorite movie of all time?
The Departed. So kids, if you're watching
Oh,
this
that's on the
interview,
list.
yep. Oh, okay.
I
So
just watched it. I watched
recommendation.
it last night.
Oh, that is like one of the most rewatchable like crime espionage like uh who did what, who's actually the mole in the agency. It's one of the greatest. I mean, it's from the OG, Martin Scorsese. Pretty much any movie by Martin Scorsese is in my top 20
One of
or
the
Steven
yeah,
Spielberg.
the
But
Departed because the acting's so good too.
oh yeah,
What an incredible story.
I appreciate your time, sir. I really look forward to talking to you again because it seems like you're a little bit of a movie nerd too. You like some movies here and
A little
there.
bit, yeah, a little bit.